Hey, this is Shilpa here. Welcome to part 3 of our series of videos where we are following this woman who is on a journey into motherhood. So, before we move to this part, let me give you a quick recap of what's happened in part 1 and 2. So, we have this 34-year-old lady, and she's come to me with history of multiple miscarriages. She's diagnosed with what you call the preterm premature membrane rupture, where amniotic sac ruptures just before she can go to full term. So she's had 2 miscarriages, one in the 15th week and one in the 18th week. And so this is how she comes to homeopathy. Now, the first remedy that we gave her was Fagus sylvaticus. And the reason was because she came with a lot of anxiety, nervousness, and this intense tension and heaviness in her body. So the first part of her journey was where we wanted to work on releasing the anxiety, the nervousness, the dread of falling pregnant again, and to help her release the heaviness and open up to be able to go to the next part of her journey. And Fagus helped with that part. Then the next layer which came up was the layer where she wanted to, own her body. She had lost the trust and the confidence that she can take a pregnancy to full term. So what we did was, the layer that came up was the progesterone layer. And so, as you know, this was her emotional state of wanting to get the confidence and be the mother that she wanted to be, and also be able to get that trust in her body to be able to carry a pregnancy full term. And progesterone was also a hormone. At a hormonal level, it is something which holds up the pregnancy, which supports the pregnancy all throughout and makes sure that the amniotic sac doesn't rupture preterm and takes a pregnancy to full term. So once we got to the progesterone layer, she was ready. She felt the confidence to start trying. And that was the time when she decided that, she's ready for the next pregnancy. Now, as she started unfolding on progesterone, we found there was a very interesting block that came up. And that was the grief and the trauma block. And this was something that came from her mother. So she was holding on to her mom's suffering. She was holding on to her mom's trauma. And that was a very intense block that she was grieving in a way. And she's had a very interesting relationship with her mother. And so we gave her liquor amnii, which is nothing but the remedy made from the amniotic fluid. And it's a very interesting grieving remedy. It has a lot of, it is similar to natrum mur. And, that was also the time when she was suffering from an acute urinary tract infection. She's had hematuria at that time. And amniotic fluid basically helped her release that grief, release the trauma, and also, in a way, helped her, with that acute urinary tract infection, as well as help her conceive. And that was when she came with the news that she was pregnant again. And so now we embark onto the next phase of her journey, where we want to make sure that with homeopathy we can help her go to full term and deliver the baby, right? So this is our part 3, and let's see what's happening in this part. So if you've not had a look at the first 2 parts, I highly encourage you to have a look at them. I've put in the links below this video, and make sure that you go through those and then you come to this part, because that will help you understand and consolidate your understanding of her different phases and the way we are building her and unfolding those processes with homeopathy in this case. So this is when she comes to us, and she's now in her 6th week. And at that point, she's really happy. She says, what I get now is a bit more nauseous than before. And she says, I feel very, very hungry. And all I want to do now is eat, even though I'm feeling very, very sick. Now, she says, I'm much more healthier I feel much more healthier than I've been in the last 2 pregnancies, which she lost. But she says, I've done such a lot to come to this place. And she says, every time I get that slight soreness in the legs, I feel like it's an alarm. Remember, she used to get this extreme soreness and this heaviness in her legs, which used to come up and ascend from her feet to her pelvis. And when it came to the pelvis, she lost her pregnancies. So that was what she's dreading that a bit now. So that was when I asked her, how are you coping? And she says, I'm panicking when I'm very, very sick, because when I'm sick, when I'm really nauseous, I'm very dizzy as well. And she starts crying and she says, I don't know how to make myself feel better. I can cope with normal pregnancy symptoms, but I'm not sure whether these symptoms are normal, they're not normal. And then I also get these anger episodes with my business partner. So she's had a friend and they've started a business together, and now they're not really getting along well, and she wants to end this business with her. So that anger and that turmoil comes up and conflict comes up as well with her partner. And she says, she's making me angry and I know it might jeopardize things, and it might I feel very, very fragile at this point. So she says, I don't have a support network. I'm very lonely. I feel a bit scared, and that's coming up all the time. And so I get this nausea, and I really want help for this dizziness because she's having a lot of vertigo and she's not able to walk. And she says, I need help, but I'm not asking for it. And she starts crying. So you see, there's a lot going on now as well. There is some dread coming up here. And now this is interesting. She says, I did not tell mom that I'm pregnant. Now her mom had actually come to stay with her for a month. And in that entire time, she did not tell her that she was pregnant. She says, she's not capable of holding my problems. Now remember, her mom has bipolar and she's had a very interesting relationship with her. And in the past, as you know, she had to be the mother because her mother was completely, out of control when she went into those episodes, right? And that's her state. So she says, I cannot tell her I'm pregnant because she's not capable of holding my problems. She gets into that carer mode, but it's not helpful. So I did not tell her I'm pregnant because she's energetically very intense. She drains me of my energy. And when she left, I felt really nice to have my house back, to have my space back. So that was important. Her husband asked her if she wanted to call his mom so that, she can get the help that she needs when she's pregnant now. And she says, I don't want another mom. I don't know what I need. She's really tearing up now. And this is for the first time I can see that she's crying. She says, in New Zealand, I found my community. I genuinely feel this is a very supportive community of people here. This is what she wanted all her life. She says, everyone knows each other, the kids, the adults. I'm held, I can feel vulnerable, and I'm okay expressing it. I feel nurtured. And she's super, super grateful for this community because it's a very satisfying experience. Now, she's grown up in a very large family, but she's never found the community that she wanted. Yeah, it was not the same. And she said, I've never had this before, even before I came to New Zealand. Everything I've done, has contributed to good things here. So she found a very good artistic, creative community because she's an artist, right? And she says, I've had rich experiences and it feels really healthy. And then she says, I have such a lovely neighbor. She's an older woman, but she's like the perfect mother, I just wish my mom was something more like her. She's so calming, she listens, she doesn't overcomplicate things. She just knows, what's right for me, what's right to do in this particular situation. And she says, this pregnancy, I feel like I want to be looked after until I get over with this. I just want somebody to hold it all together for me. This is a very important term. She has, not been able to hold her previous pregnancies together, right? So she is feeling incapable of holding it together. And I don't want to keep holding other people's stuff together like her mother, because she was kind of looking after her mom when she was here. She was so needy, she was, clingy, she was frustrated that her mother, she says, I don't think she knows what I need anymore. I had no space around her, no space for anything except her. She talks so much, she fills up every moment with words. She sometimes talks and sings and she's noisy. It's a constant chatter. It's like a burden because the mom's the child, right? So the mom would get defensive if somebody points out that, she needs to be a bit quieter. So I ask her, what do you need? And she says, I want to be nourished. It is so hard to cook for myself right now. I want somebody to make, home cooked food. I want somebody to cook food gently and with care and slowly. And I just want to be fed and nurtured. And then she says she remembers something. She loved a boy when she was in her teens and he died, unfortunately, in an accident. And she was very, very upset. She came home and she felt very weird because, her mom did not hug her. She said, I just wanted somebody to hug me. Like my mom is super devoted, she's super interested, but she's just not equipped to deal with things. And then a neighbor came and she stroked her head. And she said, it was such a lovely gesture. It was just something I needed. I needed somebody to hug me, to hold me. I wanted to be held. And she says, I don't think I've gotten that with people. So her family, that maternal kind of thing, she's never got it from her mother. Because the way her mother mothers is like she constantly worries and she's constantly caring, but it's like fussing her. So she's just not tuned in. And she said maybe as a baby, she was fussing so much over me that I could not get the rest I wanted. So I tell her, tell me about mothering. She says, it's about, I want to be held, I want to be nourished, I want to be hugged, I want somebody to stroke my head, I want that sort of a relief and that warmth. And that is what mothering is for me. And she said, I don't know whether I am that sort of a mother as well. So, I did not know what my son wanted when he was a baby because I was constantly second guessing myself. I was constantly in panic. So in a way, she was like her mother, but she's just not owned that, right? And she says, I want to be a baby now. I want to be held because she's never been able to be a baby, right? She's always been a mother's mother. She says, I want to be held, caressed. I want to be cuddled. I want to be enveloped in soft covers. And she says, sometimes I lose myself. I'm so sensitive to energies and auras of people, of trees, and sometimes I don't know who I am anymore. And that's why I really want help with this pregnancy and this nausea and this dizziness, because it suddenly comes up and she is reeling. She cannot walk. She cannot talk. It's like she suddenly loses and she needs to be held. Can you see now what's coming up here? It's like this intense need to be a baby again. So what do we do here? And how do we support her? Because she wants to be held and that holding on, otherwise it will let go. And that's exactly what happened in the last two pregnancies, right? So this is where I decided to give her the mother's milk. Right? She needs a mother. She needs the nurturing. So let me take you to what the proving says about the human milk. Yeah? So let's look at Lac Humanum. So I have opened up Lac Humanum from Dr. Ghanshyam's Mammals and Maternal's Medica. And this is the remedy from human milk. It's proved by Melissa in 1988 and by Jacqueline and Elizabeth in 1993 and Rajan Sankaran proved in 1995. Again, Schultz and Olaf and Patricia Hetterly, she proved it in 2005, and we have a lot of information and a lot of cured cases, and it's an extensively proved remedy by multiple homeopaths, right? And what do we find? It exhibits a combination of qualities of human beings as well as maternal substances. On one hand, they have all these human qualities of altruism and sympathy and morality and spirituality. On the other hand, they have the qualities of maternals, which is the need for protection, the need for high esteem, confidence in themselves. There is immaturity, there is intense dependency, there is buoyancy, changeability, and sensitivity. And this is important. On one hand, they desire to be the mother, while on the other hand, they want to be the baby again. And this is the conflict that is about the human milk and about Lac Humanum. So, a Lac Humanum personality may have an early responsibility of a younger siblings or sometimes the entire family. She may take care of them like a mother. In this case, she took care of her own mother like a mother. And so they appear to be mature and evolved. They tend to understand others' problems and emotions, always ready to help them. Very kind-hearted, very generous, very responsible, giving priority to others' wishes and desires. But they miss the early days of their life. They miss their mother or the person with whom they used to be intensely attached. They do not wish to grow up and desire to be a baby once again, to have the care and nurture from the mother. This is exactly what we see now in the pregnancy. Suddenly, her disowned, her suppressed self is coming up. This is the reason that we may witness delayed development or delayed milestones in many Lac Humanum cases. In spite of being an adult, they usually cuddle, hold on to people, to pillows, to soft toys while sleeping. They feel the connection or the attachment with someone in this way. So there are these two polarities coming up here, right? On one hand, they have this early responsibility and maturity, and on the other hand, they're completely like a baby, where they have no courage to face the world. They're very weak-willed and indecisive. And so they're underdeveloped and immature, and these alternating states of maturity and immaturity comes up as a part. So that's why, you have a lot of rubrics with having two wills, and that's the process of Lac Humanum. And then what happens is, in some cases, these people are quite evolved, and they look for spiritual higher purpose of life, which is what we see in her case. She's extremely aware, she's very evolved, she's done a lot of work at a spiritual level on herself. She meditates, there's a lot of self development and journey there. They desire to create an awareness within their inner self. They wish to be detached or dissociate from the worldly existence and want to experience infinite tranquility and contentment. And that's the whole, evolution that's coming up at that particular point. So at this point, I was looking at Lac Humanum. But there is another remedy which is made from the human milk, and that is Lac Maternum. Now, Lac Maternum and Lac Humanum are very, very similar. However, Lac Maternum has it's more of the colostrum than the regular mother's milk. That's what, in Dr. Gancham's experience, he's found that it has, Lac Maternum shows more colostrum-like qualities than the Lac Humanum. So I decided to look at that remedy as well and make sure that I'm giving her the best possible human milk remedy that we have. So what I did was I went into the remedy analysis and I decided to contrast Lac Humanum and Lac Maternum, and which means that I wanted, rubrics which were in Lac Humanum but not in Lac Maternum, and that were in Lac Maternum but not in Humanum. And I decided to analyze them using one or two very important aspects in her. So first I started to look at the dreams, because dreams sometimes talk about the subconscious aspect of the patient, and we wanted to make sure that we, at a subconscious level, what was going on in these remedies. So when I looked at the dream, and if you see, there is a lot of dreams with being kissed and caressed and amorous aspects, which comes up in Lac Maternum. And as we go, I find something interesting. Being attacked, and body parts falling off or mutilated or being dissected. That comes a lot in Lac Maternum, which is quite interesting because in the last part, you remember she had dreams of butterflies, and she had this aspect about these butterflies are dissolving or disintegrating or being destroyed, and these butterflies represented spiritually her babies she had miscarried. So there's a very interesting aspect coming up of a more syphilitic sort of state, which is more Lac Maternum, right? And then I found something very interesting: dreams of cooperation and sharing, which comes up in Lac Maternum. You don't see Lac Humanum there. And then you see community future of Lac Maternum. So there is a very interesting need for having a community, having some sort of a cooperation and being able to share and needing that aspect, which for her was very important because that's what she found in New Zealand. She found a community, she found neighbors, she found women who were so maternal or so maternal like. That's what she was needing, and that's what she found here, which was something that she was seeking from the beginning. So I just thought that was quite important for me. And again, dead bodies and dissecting and some sort of aspect about losing something, what was coming up in Lac Maternum here. Then what I did was I looked into vertigo, because vertigo was something that was very strong in her with her vomiting, right? So, which we don't find in every pregnant woman. So what I wanted to see, which of these remedies have a very stronger action on losing that that support and that wanting to be held and then falling off because they cannot support themselves. That was what I was looking for. And you have a lot of confusion with vertigo, which is Lac Maternum. Then Lac Humanum also has vertigo. So let's look at what sort of vertigo does Lac Humanum has and what sort of vertigo does Lac Maternum have. Look at that. Vomiting with vertigo. It's more Lac Maternum than Lac Humanum. And sudden paroxysmal vertigo, again, anytime the vertigo just comes up suddenly while she's walking or what she's doing things or she's talking. And I was now more inclined towards Lac Maternum than Lac Humanum because it had some very important things which made the differentiation very easy for me. So at this point, I decided to give her Lac Maternum rather than Lac Humanum. So these were some of the other confirmations I found. Community, cooperation, and sharing. That was Lac Maternum. You don't see in Lac Humanum. Dependent, desire to be taken care of, wants to be a baby, constantly held by the mother, very dependent on the mother, desire to be held, cuddled, caressed, enveloped by soft covers. And look at this. They're very sensitive to energies. This is something you don't find in Humanum. They see aura of people and trees. They don't have that sort of sense of where they start and where people end. And that sort of aspect comes up more in Lac Maternum. And then we had the physical confirmations, which was very important for me because at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure that she can, the vertigo and the vomiting and the whole nausea, that settles because that was, derailing her in a way. So I gave her Lac Maternum 200 and I gave her a dose every week for the next 4 weeks. And I said, I want to see you again after a month. She comes back. This is now her 11th week. And she says she's pretty good now. There is no vertigo anymore. And the nausea comes up, but it's not as overwhelming. It's manageable and it's reassuring. So that was reassuring for us as well. And because something was stabilizing, she was finding her stability and balance again. And then she said, I had these crazy dreams after Lac Maternum. And this tells me the remedy registered at subconscious. She says, I was very anxious. I was physically running the whole time. And she says somebody was controlling me, but I managed to outsmart and run away. Now, this is very important. This you see it's an animal theme, right? Something somebody is doing to me and I want to outsmart and, run. But let's see what's coming up here. I ask her, tell me more about this. She says, I had nightmares in the past where I could not run, I could not fly or move. So she had those aspects where she was struggling to fly. She was struggling to float, but she couldn't. And she used to wake up in fright. She said, in these dreams now, I can run and I can fly and I can escape. So they are more sort of dreams where she's able to overcome and run away. And her husband says, I seem lighter. I'm not as reactive. And it was nice that he noticed something. And then she says, I'm not noticing the achy legs again. The achy legs were dreadful for her because when she had those, coming up her body, she had those miscarriages before. So there is something positive happening in the dream. She's able to, it's no longer a syphilitic aspect. It's more like she's going into Sora, where she's able to struggle and get off, run away, fly, and, success. And she says, I'm taking Lac Maternum 1 dose a day every Friday, and it seems like it's having a positive effect. So it's still working. So then I ask her, all right, tell me, what do you want next? And this is important for their own sense of, understanding what's coming up next with their journey. And she says, even when I was pregnant with Remy, which is her first son, she says, there was nothing wrong, but I was really fearful. She says, I was not listening to myself. And then even after he was born, I did not have a lot of confidence around his needs. I was defensive and people started giving me advice. So she was not trusting herself as a mother exactly the way her mother is, right? So she says, this time I really want to have the experience. I want to have that self-trust. I want to trust my body, my instincts. I want to be grounded. With all these changes that are happening, this is what I hope. And she says, I've been through such a good process with homeopathy, right? She's grown a lot. But she says, this is just getting started. Now is the real critical time. And she says, I've been good. I'm not getting, too far away from myself. But the next 15 weeks are the main period when I will be considered safe. So she has to now make sure that she goes into 20 weeks so that she can be safe and then one thing at a time. But she says, I feel very sturdy, very proud that I've been able to put in place things I lacked last time. So we do the same. We continue the dosing and the same potency. She's still unfolding quite well. I would have liked to go up a potency, 1M, but I just wanted to make sure that, we don't want to really take any, she's still sort of finding her feet here. So I didn't want to really make dramatic changes here. I said 201 dose weekly. Just continue with and we'll continue with the momentum and sustenance. So she comes after a month. Now this is her 15th week. And she says, I'm very tired and I'm starting to get those spells of dizziness again. And I said, what triggered it? And she says, I've been having this really abusive correspondence with my business partner. So this is lingering on. It's sort of, she wants to close this business. She doesn't want to do anything with her partner anymore. And, there is a lot of anger. There's a lot of to and fro abusive emails going on. And the partner doesn't want to end the business. She keeps pushing her and getting angry at her for doing it. And interestingly, she said, I've not told her I'm pregnant because I don't trust her. And she stopped feeling any compassion for her. Now, in that business relationship, remember, she said she was like the mother. And then it was like she was looking after her. She was, caring for her. Even her business partner, her friend. And now she says, I'm losing my ability to care for her anymore. And now she started to dig into who I am. She says, I'm a lame white Australian from a boring coastal town. I don't know the world and, we can't stop such things and we can't. And she says, I also feel I need to justify why I'm closing this business, my action, not just to her, but all our friends because they were part of a group. And she says, I don't need to prove to anyone. This is what I want and this is what, I want to do. And she starts crying again. And then I say, how are you coping? And she says, I'm distracting myself. I watched a concert the other day, and this performer was so authentic. And I just wished I could be more like her. And then I saw another film, and there was this really kind woman who gets walked over and over again. And then, the ending was okay. She was acknowledged, but then she said, it was a depressing film for me. A woman needs external validation in this day and age. She says it took this woman so much to get to the point in the end when she was celebrated for her whatever sacrifices she did. She had to prove herself so many times before people could see that she was worthy. And that depressed her. That woman is her. You get it? It is about being able to be authentic, being able to do what they want without needing any validation from anyone. So at that point, I went to 1M. I just thought, no, the 200 is not holding. I wanted to make that change last time, but I said, this is the time we do it now. And then I also gave her phosphorus 30C because it came up as an acute for this extreme energy. She was feeling a lot less energy, and phosphorus came up in that whole state. It's the energy currency of the body. It's the part of the energy molecule. And so I just thought, let's use phosphorus as an acute here. And I call her again after a month, and then this was an important month, so I asked her to be in touch with me every week. So she comes after a month and she says it's 20 weeks now, and she is feeling pretty good. The phosphorus acute helped her a lot with the sadness, and there were lots of triggers, but she coped well with a business partner. She finally closed the business with Essex, and she is now stable at that point. So she said, I also did a full body scan, and it was really nice. It's a girl. I always wanted a sister for Remy, and now I've settled into my pregnancy. Because earlier, every time I went to the toilet, I now was expecting I'll see some spotting. And she says, now that I'm into this, I feel a lot of movement, a lot of dreams, but I don't remember them. This is also important. There was a lot of detox that happens through our dreams. Remember all these months. And now suddenly the dreams have settled. There is, a lot of work has been done. A lot of transformation has happened. And so she's not dreaming anymore, which is again a positive sign. And this is the next phase now, in a way, within her pregnancy. So I asked her, all right, now tell me what is now the next step for you? And she says, I've got kind of what I need, 20 weeks. And she was like, please, this was what was necessary for this pregnancy. And she says, now I feel steady. I can taper off things, and the remedies I'm taking, they're regulating my moods, and I can process intense stuff. And first time I'm at a point where I can look ahead a bit more. And I said, yeah, tell me what's more. And she said, part of yesterday's scan, the baby scan, it was about finding how the baby was. It is now very important for me to now enjoy the pregnancy, welcome this baby wholeheartedly. I want to celebrate it. Me and my baby, we've got to this point, and not have my baby feel my anxiety as much now. And for the first time now, she's told some friends that she's pregnant. And she said it was sweet. This is what I want to be focusing on now, just being pregnant and celebrating pregnancy and not worrying about losing this baby. So the next step is now outside my baby's goals as well, and focus on me, reconnect to the goal of my freedom, my real freedom. I'm not entitled to do anything that anyone tells me. I want to be myself in that kind of space. I want to come into my power. I want to find my true path and my gifts. And she says, I was reading this beautiful book, Braiding Sweet Grass. And it has such beautiful, wise stories from an indigenous point of view. And I said, tell me about that. And she said, I went to this talk of an indigenous Maori woman. And she was such a powerful woman. What she was doing, why she was doing, she was so unapologetic. And this woman believed wholeheartedly in her Maori beliefs. She owned the space that was hers. She was stable in a position. She had the confidence within herself and around her journey. These are out of ordinary women. I said, talk about this Maori woman because this Maori woman is her, right? She can see, you can see in others what you are. She says she's stable, she has strength, she's trusting, she has this maternal energy, she's a big woman, she takes up space, and she's physically very solid. She's robust, she's super, super steady. The opposite of that was the vertigo that she got, right? She said she was mom like, very comforting. She had the wisdom, but she was not trying to fix anything or anyone. She was the elder, respectful. She had a lot of gratitude, but she was unapologetic for who she was. She doesn't have to prove to anyone. She embodied just the way she was, that natural, tender spirit within her. She was the Maori woman. And she says, I asked her, what's the opposite? She says, this frantic, panicky, regretful sense of who I was, what my mom is like, what most people, most women in my family are like that. Constantly doubting, constantly frantic. So this was back to the progesterone. Remember, progesterone is the hormone at different levels, physically, mentally, spiritually, is all about being the woman that you want to be, the maternal, the matriarch. That is progesterone for us. And so this was when I decided to use it in the Fibonacci series. So for the end of the pregnancy now, until this is her 20th week, so until the baby is born, I wanted to make sure that progesterone supports her because she's getting back to the progesterone state. She wants to become the empowered woman, and she is now the empowered woman who is the mother, right? And this is what, the Lac Maternum layer, the baby aspect is gone. She is now back into trusting herself and the confidence. So we use progesterone in the F series because the Fibonacci series is all about helping create the momentum and increasing, ascending the action of progesterone to ensure that it can percolate her mind, body, and soul. And this is when I use the Fibonacci series. Dr. Joe Rosenwag from New Zealand has discovered these series, and for me, I've used them clinically wherever I want that sort of exponential action to take a remedy and use, get the best potential of that remedy for people, right? So this is where I decided to use the F series. We use the remedy until the end of the pregnancy. So she follows me now monthly. This is the 28th week now. I had some cramps and achiness in this week. And she says, I thought my waters broke, but I got it checked. Nothing's wrong. But I have had an yeast infection. I had something which was similar even in my last pregnancy. But this pregnancy, I want to heal it naturally. So she just let it be. And the infection came and went, and she now is feeling pretty well. And she says there's no anxiety and she's grounded. So for me, I think this was a type of a detox here happening where, some sort of detoxification, this is sort of a psychotic, thoric sort of a release here. And I just thought this was very important because physically she's unfolding very well. And then she said I had dreams of water again. These waves kept on threatening to crash on us, but never actually break. And then she said I had similar dreams in the past. I was at a beach in water, a tsunami would come over and I would panic about drowning. These dreams, I didn't have the fear. These dreams are playful, they're the perfect sunny Australian summer day, and the sky is blue, light is bright, and these are beautiful waves. And she's a lot of connection with water. So this is a very positive dream. So suddenly the panic's releasing, the anxiety is gone, and she's being able to be okay and relax. And water and being able to find, connection with the ocean is very common in maternal remedies because there is this, and obviously the amniotic fluid was something that we had given her in the past for that. So tell me about the next step now. I asked her, what is it that you want? She said, obviously I want to go to full term. And she said, I'm also now working on my artwork. I'm looking for an exhibition, an art exhibition. I'm making stuff for that. But I'm doing it without feeling stressful. I'm trusting the process. I'm not getting tied into it. And I feel proud of this. So this is something that she is just in harmony with the work and being a mother. She said, you remember when my first son, I started this business, I thought I would get trapped into motherhood because her own mom had missed out her career because she had us. And she said, this time, I do not fear losing myself. There is no conflict there. If I'm able to get over these things, the healing has come full term. So she can just be who she is. She doesn't have to be either the mother or the businesswoman or somebody who, it's like being a mom and being the woman that she wants to be and being able to, own herself and her body and her dreams, as well as being the mother and owning her baby's dreams, everything coming together here. So she says, this is the confidence and the trust which is important for my healthy journey. And in my intuitive creative expression and being in my space as a woman and as a mother is the harmony that we're looking at here. And then I asked her, what is it that you want from your labor? And she says, all of this work has felt so good and so exciting. And it's like something I feel so proud of with, this whole journey with homeopathy. She says, now I can rest. I can deliver this baby in a positive way. I feel excited about labor. When my son was born, the first child, she says, I just wanted the pain to stop, whatever. But now I will be more focused being in the moment and hoping to maintain the steadiness and the self-trust even during labor. So we continue the Progesterone F series with her. I get an email from her this year in May 2023, and she says, we have our baby girl here, and our baby girl was born on Dean, that's her name, on 10th April. How interesting is that? A tribute there to Hahnemann and homeopathy. And then she says the labor was smooth and fast, and I felt so clear and I was in control. And it was such an empowering and a healing experience. In each contraction, I imagined a wave rolling over me. It helped me stay open. It helped me stay relaxed. And she was small, but she was healthy. She's been thriving with good weight gain. I want to thank you so much for the guidance and the healing you've provided me over the course of our working time. It's been so valuable in many aspects of my life, but especially in seeing me through this aspect. So that was it. Now, will she need this remedy next? We don't know. Would she be on matronals for the next part of her life? We don't know. They have played a huge role in getting her ready for this part of her journey, about her journey into motherhood. And that's the beauty of homeopathy. And I don't know what was it before she wanted to be pregnant. I don't know what's going to come next, but it doesn't matter. We help our patients. They come at a particular point in time. Then we know their wants and we understand what is it that the wants are, and we give remedies based on those wants. And those remedies are the catalysts that take them, overcome the obstacles, the blocks, and they come to the other side, to the next level, transformed, and then the journey continues. So hope that helps you understand the way the matronals can support our patient, and these wonderful remedies have such a lot to offer for moms and babies as well. And in the next blog, or possibly in one of the future blogs, I would like to differentiate matronals with other related remedies from different kingdoms, and also other remedies which are similar to maternal, so that can consolidate this understanding and expand our medica. I'll be doing that based on my clinical experiences, but hope that helps. So thank you so much. In the meantime, if you have any questions, if you have any queries, any concerns, any other thoughts, please put them below. Hopefully that helps everyone. So I'll make sure I'll answer them for you. Thank you. Take care.